Welcome, guys, to my Love Island USA Season 7, Episode 25 recap and review. I am back tonight, like I told you I would be. Um, Welcome back. This episode was a lot. um, the season is getting harder and harder to get through because I will be fair. I looked it up, and season 5 was pretty much kind of staged like this, where we had so many people in the villa. We literally had 10 couples, I think it was, in the villa after Casa. And then they had a recoupling, and then we dumped a couple of islanders, and they had another recoupling, and then we dumped more people. And it feels like that. Now, the end game of season 5 was not my favorite. I've been saying to you guys, I keep seeing parallels between season 3, season 5, and this season. And while it, again, all 3 seasons started off really, really strong and then end up in the end game not being really well liked, to be honest. We found out that there are 40% new watchers for this show. I think we're seeing the impact of the show catering to those new watchers. They keep temperature checking to see the volatility of how we feel about the season and what we're looking for from the couples. I do feel like they have aided in a lot of hate watching and hate being sent to the Islanders, particularly the Black Islanders. We see that their editing choices seem to present negatively against a lot of the Black Islanders, and they're pushing a white presenting couple as their obvious winner pick. They did the same thing in season 3. They did the same thing in season 5. I don't know. I will say this, what we saw in this episode today is the reason they do not do a vote right after Casa. Because you see, the Islanders are still moving around. They're still moving around. I'm trying to go with it, but this is hard. Natalie is here now. Says, damn, Brian thinks his conversation with Andrina are boring, and then Pepe friend zones her. I mean, I think it's because she wasn't putting in any effort into Brian. So they probably were boring. But, I mean, I kept saying it felt like it was more of a physical connection. And we see that is what he was acknowledging as well. But that's what happens when you build a physical connection. It kind of just peters out at some point. So we see that happen all the time. And we saw that with Hunter and Jeremiah. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. I think we're kind of seeing it with Taylor and Clark, where he does have more of a physical connection with her. He says their conversations make him feel differently, but we're not seeing that. And also, he's still unsecure about his relationship with Orlandria. Because my whole thing is, then why don't you just focus on the girl you chose? So I don't know. Hi, Boss Queen. Boss Queen is here. She says, hey, beautiful. So yes, this episode, it's a lot. Mary says Pepelandria still could happen. Pepe is a one girl man. And also, I don't know how to express this enough. He has a TikTok where he expressly says he likes blondes and Latinas. He never the twain of an Afro American shall or black shall appear. Um, so while it would be kind of surprising that he friend zoned Adriana or Adrina, it's also kind of not surprising. So I don't know. Oh, what to do with the show. Mary's laughing because it's going nowhere fast. Um, it's utterly frustrating because I see what the show is doing. I was tweeting today that we're seeing this end game happen in the manner that they are because the show has been pushing physical connections as a basis of whether or not your connection is strong or not. They did not do dates this year until now. We're seeing our second solo date of the season. And I think they got away with doing something like that last year because of the way that the couples formed. This year, I feel like I wish there were more dates up front. I wish they did not do Casa the way they did it. Last year, Casa lasted 3 to 4 days. This year, Casa lasted 2 to 3 days. And the way that they did Casa, it felt like they lost a day. And they really should not have done Casa in that manner. And now I get that they needed to switch up the format. I know KB said that yesterday. They needed to change the format. Even Destiny from season 5 said, guys, people are gaming the system, which is what I said. I said I think they wanted people to not be able to game the Casa system and really focus on what was happening in Casa. Then they needed to actually make these people be in Casa for a week like they do in the UK. Casa then needs to be a week. If you're going to do that and you're really trying to test connections, first of all, you need to make sure you have connections going into Casa, which means dates and conversations and all that stuff. You did not do that, right? Back in season 3, they did the Mr. and Mrs. game, I think up front before Casa. And the person who won that was a friendship couple, which was Cash and Corey, because they had sat there and had conversations with each other, while all the other people were making out with each other and they knew nothing about each other. So, I mean, I feel like that's why we're seeing the end game as it is. And we saw this in season 5. In season 5, the couples were not set by this point. I get a lot of people are like, I don't understand. Why are we still having people explore? If you look back at season 5, this is what it looked like. The villa looked exactly like this. 10 couples, and the couples weren't set. Cassie was with Mateo. And was it Leo was with Johnny, Kyle was with Imani, Destiny was with not Jonah, she was with the other guy, Jonah was with Taylor, and then we had a recoupling, and then the couple switched around a bit, and then we had a dumping, and then we had another recoupling, and the couples switched around a bit because Scott came in. And even in that time, Cassie was getting to know Johnny because the producers had told her she could explore her bisexuality on the show. So again, I know people are frustrated because it feels like the couples aren't set, and we do have some couples that seem strong, but we see here in this episode, I feel like the couples that seem strong seem to have been broken up a bit, and then they have one couple that I don't feel is that strong that they're pushing as the winners of this season, that they closed off, but they closed off just to close off. So it is very frustrating, but I'm here to see how this plays out. To be fair, we talked yesterday, Zach and Amaya was number 1 in the app. Zach and Amaya don't look like they'll be a thing tomorrow. I don't know. I really don't. KB is here. KB says, "Hey Mika." Mary says the girls had no pick once. The girls have not done a recoupling speech. There's not been a girls pick. This season has been staged terribly. It's terribly. Danita's here. Hey Mika. Hey everybody. Natalie says, "Are they going to show what happened to Alandria and Nick tomorrow? Why do I care about Alandria and Nick? And Landry and Nick don't matter. And there's no movie night. And I said this. I said, guys, I don't think there's going to be a movie night. There is no reason for a movie night. The couples know everything. Nothing that they're going to show is going to break up these couples. Nothing. The things you guys want them to show is not going to break up these couples. They know most of the stuff. All it's going to do is make friendship fights, not couple fights. And so we see tomorrow they're going to do a new challenge, a new game. Now that might cause some friction between both friends and couples. So I'm interested in seeing this stand on business and speak up thing that they're going to do, the little mailbox. So I'm interested to see, but I also feel like the reason why people can't be open to talking about how they feel and what they want and that kind of stuff is because they have a toxic as F person in the villa who has held them hostage since day one. And now she's doing it to Chris the way she did it to Jeremiah. And if you pay attention, it's very clear the things that she did in yesterday's episode and today's episode. Very clear. She is maniacal. She is maniacal. And I don't even want to talk to her, but I need us to understand what she is doing so you understand what we're seeing in this villa. She set a tone with the person that she picked in the very beginning of the show that ruined the vibe of the villa. Everybody said it. We watched it and said it because we were observing it, and it has carried us to this point, and it continues. So yes, Shelly and Ace, they're having issues in their relationship, but they can't even focus on that because this Huda Ace thing that the show is alluding to just being a kiss, but it wasn't a kiss. You cannot tell me it was a kiss. The fact that everybody feels like she disrespected Shelly and disrespected the entire villa says to me it was not a kiss. And I understand it was a challenge, but I feel like it like we're not getting to the nitty gritty because they're making it seem like, oh, it's just a kiss. And so Shelly was kissing Chris. So she and Ace are on equal footing and she's not listening to him. That's not what's happening here. It's not. KB says, I think Casa was 4 days for the Islanders and only 2-3 show days for the Village. Well, I'm going by what the Islanders saying. They're saying that Casa was 2 to 3 days. All of them. So I don't know. And also UK's Casa isn't a week. It's only a 3 to 4 days as well. It just seems longer because of the schedule structure. Then whatever schedule structure they were using is what needs to be used in the USA. Mary feels like this season is flop. I feel like it started strong and they're flopping the season now. KB says the issue with the season is that there aren't more than one clear couple to root for. I feel like in prior seasons there's not been one exact couple to root for. I think there's been many, and I feel like the villa has been in flux. But and people didn't even close off this early. We're on day, I don't even know what day it is in the Love Island. What day is it in the Love Island USA villa? Let me see. I think, let me see if I can find it on Wikipedia. So I think in season 5, a lot of the closed off conversations happen right after Casa. And it was like further down. Now they might have had more episodes. So we are in day. We just came out of day 20. Yeah. So we Friday was day 20, I believe, that we were seeing. So we are day 21, 22, and so I think that when I looked it up, Bergie and Taylor didn't close off until like day 25. And so again, we're not necessarily off track, but they're pushing as if there's a like one strong couple and then everybody else is not there yet, and I just don't feel like any of these couples are strong, to be honest. They want us to root for Sierra and Nick, and I'm sure they're going to win the show at this point, but I just don't see it. KB says they're literally preparing for the mass exit. After seeing the pace and editing each Islander tonight, I think we'll see at least 3 couples head out this week. I do agree with that. I do think that. Mary says even movie night Huda clips would feel flat because she's crazy already. I agree. KB says, Mika, did you rewatch Huda and Chris's challenge? They definitely edited out. She was very much on so she was so humping him and then went far after she moved. Yes, I saw it. If you look at it, they make it look like she's turning to come off him, but I think she was turning into a different position. And this is how I know it wasn't a kiss, because Shelly said she kept looking at her like, oh, it's just a challenge. He. Oh, it's just a challenge. He. But in the clip that we saw, she was continuously kissing Ace. So it wasn't that. Mary says pretty much close to it, close it up before dumping Daya, Liv, and Kat. But we need to dump more than that because we have way too many people right now. KB says the show showed her getting into the 69 position, then immediately cut it to showing her getting off, and Huda definitely took the challenge too far. We've seen others do it in the past. Tracks for her though. She definitely took it too far, but they're making it seem like Shelly's crazy and that it's just a kiss and it's a kiss in the challenge. And I'm not saying that Shelly is completely right. I do understand Ace's frustration in some manner. But also I kind of also understand Shelly's frustration, but also that part of it is separate, but it's melding into this because of the Huda situation. It's wild. Mary says last year they closed it up around day 24. Exactly. So we saw last year like the couple started closing off, like Nicole and Kendall went to the hideaway, they closed off. Like they started closing off little by little. But those couples closing off felt correct for where they were in their relationships on the show. These couples, it just doesn't feel like it's being done right. AI is here is maybe Ace got an erection and the camera could not show it. And I think that is what happened, which is why everybody is upset at her. Because Alandria, I don't think would get upset if it was just about a kiss. Because we know Alandria will go in for a kiss. We saw her do it. I think it was more than that. I believe it was more than that. And instead of them allowing Shelly to allude to it being more, they're focusing it as if it's just a kiss and that Shelly's being manic about it and being hypocritical, and it wasn't just a kiss. It just wasn't. KB says, yeah, to be honest, many of the same critiques about the couples every year. They always button it up. I think folks have to relax and enjoy the show for what it is. Exactly. That is what I'm trying to basically say. It's like, I get it. It doesn't feel well. Like it doesn't feel like season 6. It's not supposed to feel like season 6. It's supposed to feel like season 7. And right now, season 7, Nick and Sierra is giving me Kendall and Nicole. So if you need an equation for season 6 on how Nick and Sierra is giving me, it's giving me 2 game players who are just staying together to win the show, Kendall and Nicole. They don't really seem to really have anything. The relationship doesn't seem set. I definitely don't see them working on the outside. I mean, to be fair, his family doesn't seem to like her, and her family doesn't seem to want him in her life either. So I don't know. This is where we are, but they, we got about 10 days. They always do. I didn't know how they were ending last season. It felt weird. And then they did it. And so, and I think we saw like season 5, they ended up having the red wedding dumping that they did, and they like mass dumped a bunch of people. So they will do that. The conversations that are being had right now, some of it is very, very frustrating. And so weeding through those conversations to have the proper discussions that we need to have, mixed in with people hate watching the show, mixed in with people being frantic because their couple is not set yet, is making this season very frustrating. Shanice is here. Shanice says, hey, Mika. KB says, it's also unfortunate that every year the toxic fandom always throws its support behind the most toxic and worst behaved person in the villa. And this year it's Huda. And I wish we could have gotten her out. Mary says Cassie and Harrison felt so random. They did, except for they had come on after something, so we knew we were coming. And to be fair, I don't know if I discussed this. Like, I was trying to think of a bombshell that would be really good to stand in for Alandria, because I do feel like we need a good bomb for her. And the only person I could think of was like Jacoby from last year. I thought he was really good. He's from Texas. He has a good job. He's older. I think he would have been a good bombshell for her if we're gonna choose somebody from a prior season. I know that we have people like Keenan who's like, send me in. I know we have people like Cinco who says send me in. I don't trust those two people. Love Cinco very much, met him in person. I don't trust him. Keenan, I also don't trust. I don't know. Keenan, how old is Keenan now? Keenan might be 25 now. Keenan, Love Island. Now, he says, one thing he always did, he loves himself Black women. And I said, I agree. He never gave me someone who doesn't love Black women. At the time, though, it felt like he loved Black women too much. So just because everyone, and he was the only Black man who dated Black women. So every time they threw him into the villa, they would, here, Keenan. And he would go for him every single time. So I don't know. He's 25 now. He's not that far off from Alandria. He lives in the South. I think he lives in Georgia or something. I don't know, guys. I just been thinking. AI says, Nick and Sierra closed off. Do you think production will show kiss at movie night and break them up? Not many couples. I don't think we're getting a movie night. I want you guys to resign yourself that season 5 and season 6 was the first time we got a movie night ever. They came over from UK. We hadn't gotten the tweet challenge since like season 2 or 3. It's not guaranteed that we're getting a movie night. And I keep trying to say, I don't think that the movie night in this villa will work. I think they're doing what they think will work tomorrow. KB says, I think it's helpful to limit engaging on certain platforms for the show. If you don't, it'll make it seem like the show is not doing well when it's actually doing fine, even for some of your faves. Absolutely. So I'm really on Twitter, which is probably the most toxic one, but I don't really go on like Facebook anywhere. I used to be hardcore on Facebook, Instagram. Sometimes I'll go on TikTok nowadays because I do TikTok videos. So I used to be hardcore like in prior seasons on those platforms as well. Sometimes I'll go on Threads, but this year I'm just on TikTok because I just primarily talk to my friends on TikTok about the show. But I agree, if you're all over the place, you're gonna feel like your faves are all over the place as well. Because on some platforms, like Sierra and Amaya are really popular, and Alandra are very popular on TikTok. Ace and Shelly, I feel like, are very popular on Twitter. Threads hates them though, or hates Ace anyway. There's just some platforms that are for some people, some platforms that are not. We saw it last year. It just is what it is. You just gotta vote for your fave. Mary says, not Keenan, not Sicko. That's all I have to say. This is a clear PSA. Clear PSA. Do not do this. Shani says, this season has gone off the rails, and I can't imagine it being able to turn around. And I know that. I see that. I talk to my friends who are super casuals, who are not online, who don't look up stuff about Love Island, and they're just like, just let me know when I need to come back and vote for Alandria and Shelly. That's all they want to do, because they're just like, I don't see it. I don't get it. I don't see the end game. And they're tired. KB says Keenan is forever a no for me dog. KB says Keenan loves some black women, but he also don't mind causing emotional harm to those black women, so he's a no for me. And KB says Sierra's not breaking up with Nick. She's not. She's not breaking up with Nick. She's not breaking up with Nick. I don't know how much times I can say this to people. He's not breaking up with her. She's not breaking up with him. People need to let go of this Nicolandria thing. From the moment that Sierra walked into the villa, Nick chose to not. I think at that point he was going to get to know Alandria and Belladasha, and then from that moment that Sierra came in, he focused all his energies to Sierra, and he dropped Alandra, and he yo-yoed Belladasha, and then he only looked back at Alandria when you guys forced them to put them together. He doesn't want her. Sierra got what she wanted. She wants to stay with Nick till the end of the show to win the show. She's not breaking up with him. She's not even gonna argue with him. I don't know why y'all think she will be. It's not happening. Mary says Amaya's been the winner of the season. Seems correct. Is giving Survivor Gambian. Amaya needs a couple right now. AI says, I hope you are correct. I don't know. I don't see it happening. Danita agrees. Movie night would be a waste. I think the mailbox thing is in place of it. I think so too. And I'm glad that they're infusing something else, because I do think we need something. I do think we need these couples to set themselves up. And I think this hopefully will be the trigger. Movie night is not going to do that for them. Mary says, don't hate me, but Taylor and Clark do match. I'm sorry, but we need to find the stray of love in here. Taylor and Clark absolutely do match. But he also needs to leave my girl alone. Because when did she, like, you're the one who says you want to still explore her. She didn't say that. He's saying that. Leave her alone. KB says, could run if they show clips of them talking back. I suspect with this group, the boys being a puppeteer, Taylor saying he's not physically into Alandria. I don't think those are things that are problems. Casa boys are definitely gossiping, plotting. Yep. Hood is probably trash talking one of the OG girls to Amaya. They have enough to show for movie night. I mean, which is why I think they're doing the mailbox thing. But I think the mailbox thing is replacing the social media challenge, giving the recent warning about bullying. That's also fair. KB says, I think an award night with some clips could also work, which is why I'm saying the Grafties, I think, would work in this fight. I don't think a straight movie night would work. I think the Grafties from the UK would work in this place, and that's what the Grafties is. They put the categories, and they use different clips from things that we've seen, and then they give out those awards. I think that will work, but not movie night. So it's the two different things. That's the Grafties and then movie night. I'm saying movie night's not going to work. Not the format of movie night. But I agree with you. The Grafties could work. Yeah, those things that they traditionally show, people just remember the salacious clips. Yeah. So yeah, the villa starts. We start back at the villa with the guys chatting, and the girls are still split. They noticed Taylor moved quickly past Olandria, and he said, "Well, to respect Clark, he didn't want to kiss Olandria, especially after her performance." He says that if he had done that, Clark, then it would have been like, "What the hell? What the helly?" Seems to be her favorite word as well. Kiwi says the Grafty is just a slim down movie night when they don't have a ton of couple drama clips to show. Both are used for the same purpose. Exactly. What I'm saying to you is I don't think they have enough in a movie night format like they did last year to show anything to do what people I think want it to do. And that's why I'm saying the Grafties would work in that place. You're showing a lot shorter clips for specific purposes. So he says, TJ says, well, you clearly got turned on over there. And he said, yep, she raised my heart rate the highest. And so we see the Casa boys are on the other side chatting. And Brian says that he really wanted to kiss Jaden in the challenge. And he's going to talk to her, and they all agree he should. Brian feels like he and Andrina have been boring, that it was just a physical thing. And this is why just coupling up people, sending them back into the villa for it to peter out, and you guys want them to open up the votes. This is why we don't vote after Casa. The Villa boys are talking again, and it said, who went overboard? And they all agree Huda. So my whole thing is, how is Shelly out of order? And all the boys are agreeing that Huda was out of order. That's what I want people to think about. Mary says, and Trina, you in danger, girl, probably. KB says, I think Clark and Taylor should have matched, but her attitude is off-putting, and she's acting like an OG girl, and Olan was a Casa girl, because they made Olandria a Casa girl and made Clark an OG girl. Effectively. Effectively, that's the hierarchy that they made. So that was the format. That's how it made. And I agree. I said they are at the same maturity level. I don't enjoy their conversations. I don't enjoy their connection. So won't vote for them to stay. I think they're fine. They could go. Don't want them to win my show. I don't think that, I don't think they're cute. I don't think they're sexy. I think they match. I think they're on the same level. And maybe I'm too old or grown to see anything beyond that. But that's how I'm seeing it. Taylor asked Ace how he felt, and he said he is upset. Huda did go too far. And he said, but what made him even madder was what's her name? Shelly doubling back. And Nick was upset. He said it was just a challenge, but he wanted to fight. He felt that Elon disrespected him and needs to be put in his place. And I'm just like, I don't care about this, Nick. If you wanted Elon to leave your girl alone, you could have closed off with her in the conversation yesterday when she was begging you to close off. I didn't care for any of Nick's behavior in this episode. I could care less. I think he thinks it came off manly. I don't think it came off manly. It came off desperate and insecure. We hear the Casa boys still talking, and Elon explains that he said your time to watch is now, and he said he's not going to apologize for kissing Sierra, as he shouldn't. he shouldn't apologize because Sierra is not telling him to not pursue her. And he literally was in a challenge. And he did what he was supposed to do, which was make her heart race. Nick is just mad, as KB says here. He was just in his feelings because he was salty before the challenge, and she made his heart, and her heart was raced by him. KB agrees. Elon didn't have a reason to apologize. He literally did the challenge, and he was supposed to. Exactly. Interesting. Mary says, Nick is as toxic as Huda. I said it. I think this is a fair assessment. I don't think this is an unfair assessment about Nick. I don't. I think this is fair. I think it's fair. The Casa Girls chat, and Clark is upset at how Alandria did her performance. She says, though, she liked how he handled that, and he initiated everything with them, but he didn't initiate anything with her. She's initiated everything. And I said, yeah, it's good. And they said, yeah, she handled it like trap. And she's like, oh, I don't know. I wasn't sure how it was looking. And they're like, you were angry copying. But we do see Taylor and Alandria chats, and Taylor's like, oh, you did your big one. And Alandria had to get that heart going and got that. And Taylor said, I said, ooh, wowzers. And Alandria says, yeah, I saw your face. And I said, ooh, sorry. And Taylor says, like, me, yeah, I was... you got me for sure, but for me to be respectful of Clark, I couldn't kiss you even though I wanted to. And Alandria says, I could tell. And Taylor says, but I was like, out of respect for her, I'm not going to do it. I just wanted to talk to you about where I was coming from with that. Alandria says, well, I just confused. Everybody's confused. So what happened 2 or 3 days could just happen in that amount of time for you to just set me aside. And Taylor says, it was hard for me because my head said you, but my gut said her. And I think I went with my gut. And I was laughing because I was like, yesterday it was your head and your heart. But since your heart raced for Alandria, now you're saying it's your gut. That made you pick her. And when I had the conversation with Clark, she just gave me a feeling I've never had before. So I ended up going with my gut feeling. And Alandria says, I can respect that. Can't do nothing but respect that. Alandria ITMs, the way I feel now, though, although Taylor and I are cordial, feelings don't go away that fast, but I still like him in a sense. But the fact that you're always so unsure bothers me. And if a couple of days makes you throw me to the wolves, why would I still invest in you? And I said, period. I mean, I feel like her feelings are fair because I feel like he is doing probably what he's been doing to her the entire time, being yo-yoing her and her feelings. He likes her. He wants to still be open to exploring. She likes him. She's fine with being open to exploring, and he doesn't know how to man up to make a confident decision of what he wants. But I've always said, if you can't make a decision, that's a decision. If you right now were so sure, remember yesterday he woke up, he's like, no, I'm really confident in my decision. And as the day has gone on and on and on, he is gotten less and less confident in his decision. And I feel like it's because he's realizing he probably didn't make the correct decision, because Alandria is probably the better pick, but Clark is what he wants. And he should just stay with what he wants. I think it's fair to want to be with Clark. I think it is. So just stay with that. And just be honest that that's what you want. But he does not know how to, because he is not a confident and secure person. And Alandria requires you to be confident and secure. We're going to find that out later. But yeah, every day Taylor proves that he is not the man for her. To me. KB says Alan is ready to move on from Taylor. She's rallying. I like that she's putting her needs first. I love it. Everybody keeps like going into this like, oh my God, she's going back to him. I'm like, she's processing. She's allowed to process. They were in a couple for 3 weeks. It's not going to be a switch, because if she switched, you guys would call her a game player and say, oh, she never liked him. If she could switch that fast. But because she's not crying and screaming, and because she's not at the dock yelling at him because he disrespected her, you guys don't understand this way of processing. Sometimes you just move in silence. Sometimes it's got to be deadly. Sometimes you understand that the person is not the right person for you, and it takes different things to move on, but you're going to move on. They might not see it. You might not know how you can do it, but you will move on. You're just going to take your time. And not everybody can get up under somebody to get over somebody, like we see Huda doing. Mary says Nick says he didn't like dominant women, so he couldn't do as he pleased. Yeah, Nick needs to worry about lasting longer in bed. KB says Nick is toxic, but I don't think we've ever seen him show signs of displaying verbal abuse. No, I don't think he has either. I just think he's toxic in general in his relationships, it feels. Mary says 100% Taylor deserves nothing. And KB says Taylor is acting like a child. He comes off like a high schooler that's dating for the first time. Alan is too mature for where he actually is. Alan deserves someone more mature, and this is where I'm coming to. This is what she needs. Somebody just more mature. And even if it's a more mature Taylor, like Taylor, like, you know how people feel like Chris is a ace, a more mature ace. Feel like maybe that's what she needs. Something about Taylor she really liked. I just don't think he's mature enough for her. That's it. And that doesn't mean he's a horrible person, or that he, hates her or anything. I just don't think that he is mature enough for her. But him and Clark seem to be on the same wavelength. Do I think that they will work outside the villa? Probably not, especially considering his mom doesn't seem to like her very much. She seems to be really into his relationship with Alandria. So I don't know. But you can't date someone's mom. So KB says, I think he's toxic. I just couldn't necessarily equate his toxicity to Huda's. They're both toxic, but Huda displayed some alarming behavior. Oh, we're going to chit chat about that one. But yeah, Taylor says, I'm glad we could have this conversation. And like I thought, he was waiting for her to open the door so that he can step in. And I think he used the fact that he didn't kiss her as his way in, and she's just like, cool, whatever. She's like me too. I don't feel like she gave him any extra energy here. And we see later the conversations that she has. She's just like, he's got his connection. I'm going to go about my business. I'm not sitting around waiting for him. And I think that's the proper way to do this, because you just can't let this man string you along. Shelly is upset that Ace kissed her in the challenge. This is according to Ian Sterling. That is what he said over the voiceover. And then he says, when she kissed another boy in the challenge. And I am like, this is why Shelly is currently getting death threats, because you guys are making this seem like it was just a kiss, and it wasn't a kiss. It wasn't a kiss. She went after that man, did a trick to get his heart rate up. And he sat there and he allowed it because I think he was in shock. It wasn't just a kiss. I get what he was saying, but again, it was just two different conversations being melded into two, and never the twain shall meet. It's just it's being too meldy right now. I need them to separate the conversation, and maybe if Huda and Shelly could like reconcile their piece without the piece that has to do with Ace, maybe it wouldn't seem so convergent. But right now everything seems to be coming together, and Shelly can't see one from the other. But Huda recognizes that Shelly is mad at her, but that is why I keep trying to say the fact that Huda, who in my opinion is not this self-aware, can recognize that Shelly is upset at her, says to me she did whatever she did on purpose. She feels guilty because she did it on purpose. And I know that people keep saying, oh, well, Huda doesn't always know what she's doing. No, Huda knows what she's doing. She doesn't always know how to stop. She takes things too far. And I think this is one of those moments. She absolutely took things way too far. Way too far. So I do feel like it is unfair to Shelly that Huda disrespected her, and the show is making it seem like it was just a kiss, when we know that it was something bigger than that for the Islanders all to react the way that they're acting when they all were kissing up and down each other. KB says, the way Huda was going in, it was the level of dry humping that couples do before the big one. Right. Chris says, why is Shelly mad at you? Huda says, because I guess I pulled Ace to the side and that feels extra. And so this conversation, I feel like, is being done to Chris on purpose. She's making Shelly out to be mean to her for no reason, in order to get Chris's sympathy, and then to get him separated from Shelly in order to have him solely focus on Huda. That's all this was. Mary says, please, Huda, use your evil powers to break Shelly so she can take Chris away. No, she's doing the opposite, hon. She's doing the opposite. KB says it's both Pepe and Nick saying that it was more than just a challenge, and that's also very telling. And notice no chats about what happened were included in tonight's show edit. And the show edit went for PR mode. Absolutely. Absolutely. It wasn't just a kiss. It wasn't just a kiss. And I need people to be very clear about that. Very clear. So Chris just says, just apologize. To explain it, it wasn't like that. But if she's also open, she can't be upset at that. If she wants to act in some type of way, she can act some type of way. That says something about her. And the fact that Chris is specifically saying it like this, it's because she made it seem like Shelly was upset about the kiss part instead of the other part. And this is my issue with Huda. She lies and she manipulates. And she uses tactics like this because it wasn't about the kiss part. And Chris, who feels like he's getting to know Shelly too and doesn't really care about Ace's feelings, it's just like, well, we know that you not that into Ace, so whatever. But at the end of the day, she did what she did on purpose. Huda says, no, it's not that. That's my girl. So she's making him feel like, oh, so like, woe is me, because I would never hurt. She loves to use this girl's girl, rah call to get people to think that she is this wonderful person and that it's other people who aren't the girl's girl. It can't be her. It's the other people who aren't the girl's girl. She did it with Amaya. She did it with Iris. She did it with Hannah. Now she's doing it with Shelly. She also did it with Alandria. Remember? You know how y'all tried to say Alandria was a bully? Because she talked to Huda and told her to shut her trap. Yeah. Huda says, I just don't want her to be upset with me. Chris says, of course, I totally get where you're coming from. Huda says, because I'm not that person. Chris says, I don't think you are. You don't think you are. You're not a bad person. You don't have time to get with Ace. You've had time to get with Ace. It's been 3 weeks. If you wanted him, you would have gotten him. Huda says, I wasn't thinking about others. I was just thinking about herself. Do you understand what she's doing? She's telling the truth now. She's telling the truth. Because she already got him on her side. Now she's telling the truth. Because she can be a little bit vulnerable. So he's just like, oh, see, she's self-aware. She's self-aware. She got it. She understands. Huda pulls Shelly for a chat. And Shelly says, sure. And then she thinks about it and she's like, you know what? I can't talk to you tonight. I'm aggravated and annoyed. And I don't want to say something I will regret. Shelly ITMs, I respected your boundaries with Jeremiah. I never kissed him. And you couldn't show me enough respect to do the same thing with my connection. Huda says she just loves her. She doesn't want her to be mad or to go to bed mad. And Shelly's like, I understand, just not tonight. Nick pulls Elian, and he expresses how pissed off he is, and that's all I got from him. KB says, well, first Mary says, who do I prefer, Shelly with Ace or Shelly with Chris? I mean, I like her with Ace. I also see the connection with Chris. I want Shelly to do what works for her. KB says, I actually prefer Shelly with Ace because something about how he was with the Casa Boys tonight has me questioning. Better Shelly stick with Ace, who is what you see is what you get. Yeah. Are Chris homeless allegations real? Or people making stuff up? He's homeless? I haven't heard that. Who knows? But I do see what you're saying, KB. But again, he's also a Tory Lanez supporter. Some things that Chris say make me side-eye him. I feel like he's very like red pillish, misogynistic-ish. I don't know, something there. Something there. KB agrees. So Shelly and Ace chat, and Shelly says she doesn't blame him. She knows Huda initiated whatever we did not see, because it wasn't a kiss. Because she said initiated it, and I was like, if it was a kiss, she would have just said the kiss, right? Ace says, nah. It might look like I enjoyed it, but it's actually a wild thing to do. But it's good. It was it's all good. It was a challenge. I just want to express that I'm pissed off though, because you doubled back to Chris. I sent the person that I had a strong connection with home because I knew our connection was stronger. You doubling down on your thing with him, not gonna lie, pisses me off. And I do feel like with Ace, he's regretting not being able to continue to explore Coco, because I do think him and Coco had a really good connection. I know people don't believe it and see it, but yes, I do think they did. And he regrets it because he felt like, oh, if I could have just brought her back. Mary says we need to something millennials again. Is any Gen Z not a red pill MAGA Andrew Tate fan? I don't know. It's very difficult, very, very few and far between, it feels. Honestly, almost all the guys, save for Pepe, have given off signs that they engage in some extent with alpha male podcast red pill content. That's why I keep saying people are like, oh, do we want her with the Tate supporter? Oh, do we want her with the Tory Lane supporter? I'm like, guys, it's Slim Pickens in this villa. It's Slim Pickens in this villa. Shani says, I think they had a connection, but he's more worried about being vulnerable than more than anything. Ace and Shelly. Ace is more worried about being vulnerable. I do think Ace is worried that, okay, from what I've gathered about Ace, he said that he used to be very much an open, free loving person to women, and they took that for weakness, and they used it and used it and used it to finally, that I think we're seeing him close off. But he also seems like he's a slow mover when it comes to like also physical things, right? I think that it is possible that somebody hurt him big. I don't want to speculate what those hurts could be. We know he grew up in poverty. We know he had a difficult childhood, but it's very difficult when you have been vulnerable, as we see with some people, right? They've shown vulnerabilities, and then people take advantage of those vulnerabilities, and then they put their walls up, and then they've had their walls up for a long time. Ace has also never been in a relationship, and he's 22. So whenever this person did it, it could have been in high school, it could have been in middle school, for all we know. We don't know. But whatever it was obviously not somebody he was dating. But whatever it was, it must have been something big, because he has such a guard up when it comes to letting himself be vulnerable. And I do think that he finally allowed himself to be vulnerable, because I do think Shelly allows him to be vulnerable, but her also not just closing off to him and focusing on him is frustrating him. And I get it. I do. I get both sides of this. KB says, sorry, as a dating millennial, even the millennial men are also regurgitating toxic ideology. Absolutely they are. Absolutely they are. KB says Ace has some complexities. He's done. For a 22-year-old, and I get that people keep thinking he's not mature enough. I think he's just been through a lot. I'm not excusing his behaviors. I do think that he could be a bit of a prick. But I do think that people take his confidence or overconfidence. He's also Leo, like, and think that means that he is a trash human being. And I just don't agree. I don't agree. I think he's a complex person. And I think we have to start learning to allow Black men, Black women to be on the shows and be complex. The fact that Alandria is both still exploring but also still open to Taylor does not make her a pick me or a bird or bad person. It makes her a human being. The fact that the white people on the show get to do those things all the time and go back to each other and win shows. Why can't we make allowances for our people to do the same? Why? Mary says, "Let me keep my boo because maybe he's not perfect, but in this dating pool, I would feel so unsettled. This is why I kind of just stopped dating. I find it hard to date men my age. They are not serious, which is crazy. Um, I find that men in their like late 20s, early 30s are serious, but they either are looking for children or they are too young in some respects, meaning that they don't have the career that wouldn't be needed for me to be okay with them. And I wouldn't date anybody in their 20s anyway. Men in the 30s are up and down. Never know what you're going to get. Men older than me, I find that they don't understand me. They're not technically savvy. They want to talk on the phone all the time, and I'm always on the go. So, let me see. Shanice says it's something about the middle school relationships that mess men up for life, right? That's why I brought it up, because sometimes it's just somebody from middle school rejected him. He bought her like flowers and a Valentine, and that was it for him. Because she rejected him. It's crazy. KB says, I actually see real potential for Ace to grow outside of the show. He shows real signs that with some work, he can eventually have those healthy partnerships in life. I agree. That's why I kept saying yesterday, I'm like, I know y'all think that he is not mature. I find him to be very mature for his age. Does he have maturity that he needs to gain? Does he have work to do? Yes, but he's 22, almost 23. Who here was perfect at 22 or 23? Who here had, no immaturities? I remember having an argument with my boyfriend at the time when I was 22, and I had been pregnant, and I was arguing with him, and I threw something at him, and it wasn't the right thing to do. It was unfair, and it wasn't healthy. It was toxic as fuck. And I couldn't blame my hormones, even though it was probably a lot to do with hormones. But I had to learn to not do shit like that. Especially as a person who was becoming a mother. I think maybe I was 21 going on 22. So it's like, guys, we all have maturity that we need to gain. And I don't see anything that's crazy that I'm seeing from Ace that I think would not allow him to learn outside of the show. KB says, same, Mika. It's very hard out there to date. I'm going to be very honest. Shanice is clapping. Thank you. And KB says, at this point, I am also sort of enjoying the peacefulness and not being in a partnership with a man. I don't have to compromise. I can focus on my own emotional and physical well-being all the time. And that is also something I've kind of resigned myself to, that while I would love a really healthy partnership, maybe I just need to be me, with me, date me, just live life with me and my kids. But I try not to make, some people make their kids like the sole focus of everything. Like, oh, my boys are like my husband. No, I'm talking about really building healthy, secure relationship with yourself. You don't do these things that you see on here that Huda is doing. Sometimes it takes therapy. Sometimes it takes self-reflection, meditation, separation, like things that it can take a while to build, but gotta focus. Kennedy is here. Hi, Kennedy. Kennedy says, if Ace and Shelly don't get it together before the upcoming vote this week, they could be in the bottom and at risk of going home. Okay. I mean, they could get it together and still be in the bottom and at risk of going home. We don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm I'm trying. I don't know if you missed my entire conversation at the beginning of this pod, but we are not far off from any other situation prior to this where these couples that are actually could get very strong. I think what Taylor said to Ace today was good advice. Like, you know, can you figure out where you need to go next? He said, I'm not sure. And he said, once you get there, think about it, you'll be at the top, that you passed your roughest point. And that's what it's about. And to be honest, I keep trying to explain, I don't think Ace is looking to win the show. Do I think him and Shelly need more time to figure it out? Yes, but all you can do is vote for your fave. Yeah. King Cooper is here, and King Cooper says, hey, y'all, at work, want to pop in and say how worried I am for my girls, Shelly and Alandra. I want you guys to not worry about them. We have time. 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 Like I said earlier in the pod, if you go back and listen, we have time. We are not in the end game yet. We have 10 days. And yes, will it go quick? Very much so. But we have time. There will be another recoupling, and then there will be a dumping, and then we will have more bombshell comes in, and then we will figure this out. But if Amber can win the show, where she met the person that she won the show with a week before, if Mimi can win the show when she met the person that she won the show with 2 weeks before, Shelly and Landria will be fine, guys. They'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll all in this together. Mary says Amaya would make final on my watch. And if Turkey Teeth hurts my Amaya, we wired at the UK airport to get his ass. I mean, I don't know. Kikuber says, I also think Zach wanted to explore Shelly, who didn't want him, and then Muta and Landra, who wasn't physical, that ended up with Amaya, which is why the vibes are off. But I said that yesterday. Oh, you might not have watched me yesterday. So yesterday I said something was off for me with Amaya and Zach, and all these people are like, no, why aren't you seeing it? They're like the perfect couple. They're going to win the show. And I was like, there is something off, and I think it's the vibe. And somebody said to me today, it was because people really liked Amaya with Zach because he seemed to be letting Amaya be herself. And I said fair. But I did wonder if he was truly being himself with her. So it's one thing for somebody to allow you to be you, but are they also opening up themselves to you? And was Amaya allowing that space? Now, I personally have a feeling that Amaya's person was Jalen. And he's gone. I think Jalen would have been the person who would have most allowed her to be herself and also meet a lot of the other needs I see that she needs. Zach, you could tell when Alandria walked back into the villa, he was excited. When they went and did the challenge yesterday, he made sure to grab her up and kiss her, because that is what he's been waiting to do since the first episode of Casa. And yes, he wanted to explore with Shelly, but he said he wanted to kiss her in the challenge, but she didn't pick him. So I think he always wanted Alandria. He just didn't get the chance because he also knew she was closed off physically to anybody who wasn't Taylor. And so this was my issue with the way the format of Casa worked, because if she had not been dumped or forced to just pick somebody and maybe given time to explore with Zach, maybe we would have seen more of her being a little more like, oh, maybe Taylor's not it for me. because I see something different. Their conversations in Casa were really great. I said that. I wasn't sure if she was going to be open to still having him explore with her. So I'm glad that she's opening up. As for Amaya, Elon seems to be interested in her. I don't know why she wouldn't talk to like a Brian or something. Now that him and Andrea are gone, but I would not worry about Amaya. I think she has potential to find somebody. I don't know if it's her person. I personally feel like her person was Jalen. KB says, Mary says if Grayson is out, Peppa Mayo could rise. He might go the Andrina that way. I think we see now is the point that the show where the OG's representatives have left and the relationships now are truly part of their long-term decision making beyond the show. And that's where we should be at this point. How do you see our relationship outside of this show? Personally, that is why I'm just like, I'm not really seeing it with Clark and Taylor, because I don't think she wants to live on a ranch with animals coming through her house. But that's what he wants. That's what he wants. So he can stay with what he wants. So yeah, I don't know. So yeah, we see. And we see that Shelly says that she doesn't blame him, that Huda initiated it. He's upset. She doubled back to Chris. And he feels like he sent his other strong connection home. So he knows, because he knew their connection was stronger. But the fact that she's doubling down on her exploration kind of just pisses him off. And Shelly says, well, her intention wasn't to double down, and by doubling back, it was that's the person that she wanted to explore. She wants to explore with, and he is going to be the person she would focus on anyway. So she went with Chris for her kissing, but he kissed everybody in the villa. And Ace is like, well, it's just hard for me to believe that because you're an intentional person. I don't believe that. And Shelly's pissed because she's like, you kissed everybody in the room and I kissed the person I'm getting to know. Now, understand this. Where it comes to Shelly and Ace, she's talking about kissing. People are mixing up what she was saying about Huda and what she's saying about Ace. Her issue with Ace is the kissing. Because we know he takes things too far in these challenges. And I get it. I understand I literally get what they're both saying. And I think it might be the difference between men and women. He sees it as you are focused on one person. So that is a direct reflection on me. On me as a person, because you're ditching me for one person. One person. And she's like, you can't stop yourself from exploring with everybody, because why are you kissing everybody in this challenge? And I get that too, because we see that Ace kept, every time somebody came in, everybody, he kept getting to know them. He wasn't focused on her. He's focusing on everybody. So I understand what they're both saying. They're both not wrong. They're both valid in their feelings, which is why they need to work it out so they can figure out, can they work through this to be a stronger couple? And Sharnice says, I understand both sides of Ace and Shelly. KB says, to me, they weren't even arguing about the same thing. They weren't, but they were. I don't know how much I can say, how much more I can say that. They were, but they weren't. It's just a difference of thought process. It is all comes down to respect and what you actually want. Do you want to be with me? Or are you still exploring with everybody and their mother? Do you want to be with me? Or are you exploring with this one guy? When they really just want to be with each other, from what I'm getting, they just have to figure out the differences in opinion here. because it's a respect thing. Are you going to disrespect me outside of here by doing this in some other manner? Are you going to just be frustrated with me or see somebody else on the street and decide that a guy is who you want to get to know and forget everything that I've done for you, forget what we've built, forget how we got to the point that we are so that we can't move forward in our relationship? Neither of them are wrong. It's all about approach. It's all about communication. They need to communicate through this. They need to listen to each other. They need to come to an understanding of what the goal should be for both of them to meet each other's needs to move past this. That's it. It seems simple though. It sounds simple, but it can be hard, especially with personalities. Mary says, why is Jeremiah linking with Huda's ex? That's weird. He did? I don't want to talk about Jeremiah. I don't want to talk about Jeremiah. Yes, he was Ace Tobin. Columbus, the explorer, ruled for way too long, and he's got to prove to Shelley that he's made land for and plans to stay. Exactly. And with Shelley, I think Ace thought that once he locked in on her, that was all he had to do. And now he's like, okay, so I have to do more. And he's like, and I know he's not insecure. It's not about Chris. It's about him. For him, it's about him. What am I not doing for you? What am I not giving you? And in his head, I'm giving you his all. And to be honest, as a 22-year-old who's never dated, he might just be giving her his all because he doesn't know what else to give. And I kind of had this conversation about Taylor with him. Is that Taylor, I don't think, knew how to pull a baddie, knew how to pull a queen like Alandria. So you saw him having the same kind of frustration, saying, well, what more can I do? What else should I do? And Ace was the one who had to give him ideas. But I think Ace is the one that's usually got the ideas. And I think he's run out of ideas because in his head, I've given her everything, I don't want to say every trick up my sleeve, every note in my book, but that's how it's feeling. When I think he also needs to just have patience with her and let her figure it out and just be there for her and just be Ace. Just be himself. Just do what he normally does. And he'll be fine. Keep being secure. Keep knowing who you are. And just do what you've been doing because that's the person she started to like. And KB believes that Ace believes he's surprised. Absolutely does. He's a Leo. Shani says Ace has a script in his head and Shelley ain't following that, and that's frustration. That's the man with a plan. And it's like the guy who knows that he wants to get married in 6 months. He just has to get the ring. But the person has to like pick out this behind his back, and he doesn't know how to do it. So he's just like, oh, you won't work with me. I have a plan. We're going to get married in 6 months, right? Sometimes men can't see outside of what they are planning. And even if that includes you. KB says, nope, Ace and Taylor are not having the same concerns. Taylor didn't know how to show Alandria nothing because he wasn't feeling it. He's clearly able to figure it out for Clark. What has he done for Clark? What exactly has he done for Clark but breakfast? I'm confused at what extra he's giving Clark because I haven't seen it. I don't think he's working for her at all. I said this yesterday. I don't think he has to work for her at all. She's just there. And my theory really is with Clark is the fact that she got her heart rate raised by Ace. I think she wanted Ace. We saw her choose Ace. And then she couldn't get Ace, so she chose Ace's homeboy. He doesn't have to work for her. She's where she wants to be. She thinks that she has no competition. She went for Taylor because she felt like there would be no competition there. And now she's upset because Alandria is still in the competition. She doesn't understand why, because she doesn't know how to deal with that. She just talks Taylor. I ain't got to do with Alandria at all. But I don't think that he's had to do anything to work for Clark. He had to do a lot to continue to work for Alandria. Ace says, this is hard for me to believe you're an intentional person. And Shelly says, well, she's just pissed that he's kissed everybody in the room, and I'm kissing the one person that I'm getting to know. And she tells him, I don't know how else to explain it. And he says, well, it's a little much for me. And she basically says, at this point, I think we just need to take a break and we'll talk about it later. Alandria is joined at the breakfast bar by Huda. And it's really uncomfortable. And Huda says, am I a bad person? Alandria, I appreciated this from Alandria. I'm sure she's getting shit online. I haven't checked. But Alandria, Taylor, Amaya, Hannah, Shelly at some point, Sierra. But I feel like Shelly and Sierra have backed off from doing it. They all coddle her. And in this conversation, Alandria was like, I'm not doing that this time. I'm not doing that this time. She says, I wouldn't say that you're a bad person, but it was a little much. And she walks away. And I was very proud of her for setting that boundary. And Sharnice is saying exactly here, Huda thought she had a friend. She did. And Alandria's like, no, Shelly is my friend. And you disrespected her. And I'm not going to argue with you about it, but I'm not going to also coddle you and make you feel better about yourself. I'm not. Because your behavior was out of order. And I'm proud of her for doing that, because Amaya is still kind of coddling her. And she's like, oh, how did the conversation go? And she explains that Shelly wouldn't talk to her. And then Huda is crying. Chris comes and consoles her. And I'm telling you, she did this on purpose to get Chris to focus solely on her. She did very similar things to Jeremiah. She did. And then when Jeremiah and her went south, she did the same things to the ladies and other men about Jeremiah to get them on her side against him. And I'm not saying Jeremiah was a perfect person. I think he had issues too. They were toxic as hell together. So she's crying. Chris consoles her. Amaya tells her it's gonna be okay. Huda, Taylor tells Clark she looks beautiful. Huda in bed. Huda says to Alandria, you are handling this with grace. And Alandria says, yeah, I kind of have to. I can't crash out. She's like, although I know that's probably what you would do. No offense. And I didn't catch what Huda said, but she laughed. KB feels Huda was fishing for someone to make her the victim so that she could be the one getting comforted. Yeah. King Cooper says, I also cut Huda rewriting it by saying Shelly doesn't want to talk to her, but leaving out the not tonight part. That's what I was saying. She left out the part that Shelly's mad at her, not for the kiss part. She's mad at her for the sexual position that she did. She kept saying it's the kiss, the kiss, the kiss. It wasn't the kiss. And then she keeps leaving out the fact that Shelly didn't want to talk to her right now. That she just wouldn't talk to her. She does it the next morning too. And that's not what's happening. KB says Huda recognizes her tears, girl rhetoric, and overly sexualized behavior to manipulate people. She does. She absolutely does. KB says, well, she wasn't lying, but she was lying because she didn't want to talk to her that night. That's it. Because I think, to be fair, Shelly had every right to back away from talking to her that night, because I do think she said I might say something crazy, and so I'm not going to do that. And we know that if she had said something crazy, all Huda would have done was used it against her and weaponized it, just like Jeremiah did, right? Jeremiah said something and she used it against the whole village. He said that he's backing away from us and he's going to just get to know her. And she says that to the entire villa, and they all believe her, and that is not what happened. That's not what happened. So, oh, she wasn't lying about the crash out. She wasn't lying about the crash out. Fair. And Huda, yes, literally engages in manipulation. She does. She absolutely does. It sucks to see, and this is why she needs to go. I'm so mad that the public has engaged in the behavior to keep her in this villa. Ace asks Shelly, is she okay? And she says, and they go to bed. The next day, Ace brings Shelly breakfast with flowers, and she appreciates it. But then Chris also brings breakfast for Shelly and Huda. Elon wants to get to know Amaya, surprisingly, but he's still kind of focused on Sierra. Huda chats to Amaya, Grayson, and Clark. Huda refuses to pull Shelly. And I said, you see the specific people that she is talking to, because she now is effectively outside of that major girl group. They're all rallying around Shelly. But she says she refuses to pull Shelly. She's not doing it anymore. And Clark feels like, oh, they can mend it. And they ask how things are going with Chris, and apparently he gave Shelly 2 pancakes and a flower, and gave Huda 1 pancake and no flowers. And the girls are upset for her. And she ITMs, he's just playing in her face at this point. And then we see Sierra and Shelly helping Alandra come up with a game plan for who she can get to know in the villa, because she's not going to sit around waiting for Taylor to get his mind right. Apparently, that's what, some people would do, but that's not what she's going to do. So Sierra suggests Austin. I'm not sure why. Zach, Brian, and Shelly says, and Taylor. And Alandra kind of looks at her like she's a little crazy. She's like, well, how do you feel about that? Now, yesterday we saw that Taylor and Shelly had a conversation that we weren't allowed to hear right before Chris pulled her for a chat. And I think that it might have been a conversation where he was like, no, I still want to explore Alandria. She's still open to it. And she probably told him, well, not right now. No. Which is why he seemed disappointed in the challenge. Katie says, I actually think Huda is a major part of why the season has gone the way it done. She and Jeremiah set the oxygen out of the villa for the first 2 weeks, and even Islanders like during. That's something somebody else said that on Twitter. I also said that they literally killed the vibe of the villa. They ruined the vibe of the villa. That is why when he chose Iris at the door, I was so happy, because it literally reset the villa, but they literally killed the vibe of the villa. People weren't. We saw it from when the guys all got up to be themselves be picked to be explored from Sierra, and she tried to start this campaign against the guys, and the girls weren't going for it. And then she kept it going. Sharnice says Huda be campaigning too hard for me to believe she's not that person. I'm telling you, she knows she's that person. That's why she recognized that she was doing what she's doing on purpose. Mary's like, these choices at this point, I would take Scott. Thank God Scott can't come in. Sierra gets attacked. They're going on a date. It's a picnic date with bikes. They talk. I did not listen. Huda talks to Chris and tells him he's showing favoritism. She cries about having a bad day. She just wants her and Shelly to figure it out. She says and this is the part that pissed me off. She says, if she was ugly, would that help? And he's like, no. And I'm just like, how gross. So you think that you're better looking than her? Is that what you're trying to say? That you think that Shelly is insecure because you are better looking than her? Because this had nothing to do with the way you look. It's not like he got a boner from looking at your ass. You either did a maneuver on him or you were doing something physical on him to get him riled up. And you would have hated it if somebody did that to you with Jeremiah. So excuse me? What does your looks have to do with anything? Especially since you've had work done to yourself. Which I'm not shading anybody having work done. I would never shade or shame anybody having work done. But how dare you? It's like Nick Vial sit there talking about that Shelly, Alandria, and Sierra were leftovers. Fuck all of y'all. Seriously. I need Huda out my villa. Shani says, this is a mother to a little girl. Deep sigh, pray for the children. I don't know. I don't know. I try not to think about her child and just focus on her as a person on this show. Because weird. She something is not there with her. Alendria and Shelly continue to talk, and she said she's going to be Dora the Explorer. And she's like, because how will you know your connection is strong if you don't test it? So she's headed to target Zach. And Alendria says she enjoyed their conversations during Casa. And Shelly agrees their conversations seem great. And she's like, I can't trust my connection with Taylor. He's off exploring others, so I'm going to explore others. I'm going to put most of my energy into those other connections. And I was like, yay, I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of her. Ace asks for his ball back. And so Landria says, of course. And KB says, as she should. Huda says she says with Huda, she needs to draw a line. So that's a separate subject. But she feels like with them, boundaries need to be taken. And he feels like she's doing the same thing. She is also exploring in this villa and not allowing boundaries to be set. And she doesn't feel like her having conversations with the same person is the same as him kissing everybody in any challenge passionately. He ITMs, he doesn't feel heard. Ace feels like it comes back to the closed off thing. It doesn't seem like they are ready for that yet. And in his head, and maybe this is, again, he's 22. Ooh, he's 22. And maybe this is the show and the producers pushing to him is like, you and Shelly should be closed off right now. This is the point of the show, to be closed off. You should be closed off right now. Why can't you guys close it off? And it's possible that's the conversations he's having with his producer and and the production team and making him feel like he's behind and that they're behind and that there's something wrong, instead of him just allowing Shelly to figure her crap out. And so he says, it doesn't seem like we're ready for that. And Shelly feels like maybe they need to pause talking and they'll talk later. And Sharnese says the baby wanted to cry. He did. Like, I could tell, like, he has this thing in his head, like, this is the way it should have gone. They come back from Casa, they get back together, they close off, they live happily ever after into the sunset. And it's not happening because Shelly is a fully formed person and wants to do her own thing. It is what it is. Zach, Amaya chats to Chris, and apparently Zach is not investing in her. But he's also not investing in other ladies, only in his friendship. Shorty says it's his movie script, his rom-com, right? He's the lead, and the co-lead is not working with him. She's going off book. She's going off script. She didn't read the notes. Ellen overhears her telling Tristat and goes and runs and tells Zach. What did you think about him doing this? Because I was like, why are we doing this? I thought you wanted to talk to her anyway. So why don't you just talk to her? Why are you bringing T back to Zach? Just weird. And people in the app want him to explore with Elandria. I'm like, it's pretty clear that the man had 2 days where he could have focused on Elandria and he did not seem to get to know her at all. He's focused on Sierra. I don't know. So Zach says he's not understanding what he's supposed to do. And Ellen says, I'm just putting it out there on your radar so you're aware. Ace and Taylor chat, and Ace is frustrated. He feels like this is a setback. Did he make the wrong decision sending someone home? Because he's not feeling confident that you're all about me. And I'm all about you. I don't want to see you with anybody else. Fuck a kissing challenge. You're building an intimate relationship outside of us. And as I said, I understand what he's saying fully. At Ace ITMs, he just feels like he's not good enough for her. Or he's not enough for her. And it's frustrating. I do care about her. I am putting my effort in. Something is not getting it back. And Taylor says, what's your plan to move past this? He says, honestly, I don't know. Taylor says, when you figure this out and you get past this will be your all strong point. And you're going forward. You just have to get through. Basically, you just have to get through the woods. You have to just get through the storm. And that's the hardest part. So you just have to work on figuring out how to get through the storm. But once you do it, you'll be all right. And I think it's because he really does truly believe that Ace can do it. It just going to take time is what they both don't understand. Alien chats with Brian. Alien says that he thought he still had a chance with Sierra. Brian says, well, to be honest with you, she's on a date and she's not thinking about you or chatting about other people. And he says, yeah, he kind of wishes he had time to had her tell him that. And he ITMs watching them come back from a date felt like a punch in the gut. So we do see Nick and Sierra come back from the date. She describes the date. Apparently, this was his and her dream date that they described in the villa. They talked about what they were expecting from their person in here, and they think that they found it in each other, and they closed thing off, and they're all excited for them. It was giving Nicole and Kendall to me. Alien chats with Amaya. Nick and Sierra closing off gave him closure. Zach, though, says that as the days goes on, his connection with Amaya gets sourer and sourer. Amaya says he's not being a gentleman, so it's making me want to talk to other people more. Alandra says while Taylor's figuring out his shit, she's going to nurture new connections. And Trina's very open to new connections. And Huda says she loves where her and Chris are headed. And I'm like, yeah, because you're manipulating him to head there. And Trina pulls Pepe. She admits she didn't talk to Brian all day. And he says, well, do you want to talk to him? And she's like, I don't know. I pulled you for a chat, so maybe not. And he said he's not interested in getting to know Andrina. He wants to focus on Grayson. He's not a big, basically, explorer. King Cooper says, the date felt like production propaganda. I love Sierra, but I literally got up to get water and didn't care to pause it. Yeah, I mean, it literally was a moment for production to say, hey, guys, here's your winning couple. This is who you should want to win the show. Because it goes up. No. I don't know why they do this every year. Every year they do this, and nearly every year it doesn't work. I don't know. They're trying really hard. So we see that Zach and Alandria go to the dock, and he throws her words back at her, and she laughs. And he asks her, how does she feel about what Taylor did? And she said, she's fine. And Charlie says the date was cringy. I actually picked it on their options for what could happen today. People picked something else. I think it was the beach date. I said the picnic date is good. I think the picnic date is good. I think it was the two people on the picnic date. I mean, I wouldn't like the bikes either, but I think it's the two people on the picnic date. Kimmy says, can't lie, I didn't watch the date, but this is the second date of the season. It's timed appropriately based on the couples we have. It was perfectly timed. Love it. Love that it was a date and not a hideaway. I think they did it properly. I don't mind the date in theory. I didn't mind the date in theory. I just didn't care for who was on the date. But also, kind of like what happened when last season, when Kendall and Nicole went into the hideaway, they were the only couples that could go into the hideaway. Literally, Sierra and Nick are literally the only couples that could have gone to this date. Other than Shelly and Ace, but they're fighting. So, I don't know. Shani says, when Sarah says, oh, so I'm your dream girl, and he chuckled. Yeah. Production is trying, and Nick is like giving them a run for their money. I kind of feel like they're like, listen, dude, you don't have to do boyfriend and girlfriend, but you've got to close this shit off with her. And he's like, oh, but I want to still explore other. There ain't no other girls coming for you. You need to just close things off with this girl. Do you want to get to the finals? Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah. And he asks, so Zach asks Alandria, does she feel like she doesn't know what she did wrong? And Alandria says, I know I didn't do anything wrong. I said, exactly, period. And I love that she said that, because I love that she does not feel like she did anything wrong in this situation. She didn't. She did not do anything wrong. Taylor is not a secure person, and he's not secure in his feelings. He's not secure in his actions. He's not, he just is not. And so she did not do anything wrong. And she's like, sometimes you guys just don't know what you want. And she's not wrong. And he says, sometimes you have one conversation with a person and it changes everything. Well, that's what happened with him and Amaya. And it had to make a quick decision. And he said, but today he had to talk to her. He said he still feels like she's a great girl, but he just needs space to see if he can continue to give it a go. His past relationship didn't work because his partner didn't understand his need for having conversations in private and correcting his actions. And Alandria says she feels the same way. She would also do the same thing. She's not going to wild out in front of people. She'll pull her partner to the side and have those conversations. Zach says, yeah, it was great in the challenge yesterday. And she was like, you shocked me. And Zach says, I finally got to kiss you. I was saying to myself, I've been trying to kiss this girl for a minute. And Alandra says, I know. I was like, what the F? And they laugh about it. And Zach says, I didn't kiss anyone else. I just kissed you two. Alandra, I noticed that. And I was like, I really like this conversation. Like, I thought they had good conversations in class. I wasn't sure she'd be able to let down her walls to allow him in as an option again. Love this conversation. Do I necessarily think that Zach is her person? We'll see. But I'm excited to see her explore that connection. KB has said that she is very mature about it, very consistent on brand with the level of class and maturity that we've seen from Melandria. She literally did everything right, I feel like, this episode. Everything right. She's exploring her connections. She handled Taylor correctly. I feel like she's handled the villa correctly. She's been not perfect, but she's been handling her emotions, everything as properly as you can for the situation that is at hand, in my opinion. Clark and Taylor chat, and Clark wants to know how she's supposed to feel about the challenge yesterday. And he says, oh, well, maybe Alandria went too far. And she's like, okay, can you go through that and say what she did that was too far? And he said, oh, well, maybe she went too far, bringing me to the heart. And this is after her prodding. And he said, because it's obvious that Clark feels disrespected. She says, yeah, well, I see that you're not putting anything into her, and she was the one that was putting everything into to that. She asked though if he and Alandria will continue to explore each other, and he says, yeah, they will. He tells her though how he told Alandria that Clark makes me feel different. You make me feel like a kid and giddy. And she ITMs, I'm in a triangle. I never had to deal with this on the outside. And they kiss. Danita says Taylor basically said in tonight, and Clark laughed at it, but the girl, he basically says he doesn't have to be a man with you. He could be with Alandria. He basically is saying she is easy. Not easy in like having sex easy, but easier in how he can get to know her. And it's fair. Like I keep saying. He just wants something easy. I don't know if he wants something mature. Their conversations don't seem like they have a lot in it. They're immature and they aren't anything where I'm just like, oh, I see where this is going. I don't see the connection. I don't see the chemistry. I see how they are at the same level. That's it. Shani says, I did not like this conversation at all. Yeah. I mean, at this point, I'm just like, Taylor, just please leave my girl alone. Like, you're not a man. You're a boy. And that's fine. She doesn't need a boy. She needs a man. KB says, based on this conversation, I'm ready to get Clark out. She's so remind me that this is a Casa girl, not she can be reminded that she's not an OG girl, main girl. She is a Casa girl. Yeah. I mean, basically that is what she is basically saying. Like, I'm the main girl, and now I'm put into the situation where Alandria is going after him, when I mean, I feel like he's the one that's opened the door for them to explore, because I don't think Alandria cared to focus on him. Yeah. And as KB is saying, she could be Taylor's main girl outside the villa. Pretty much. That's all I've gotten from it. So Shelly and Sierra chat, and Sierra says she thought about her on the date. Ace was frustrated, but she is also frustrated. She's frustrated with Huda as well. She just doesn't want to talk to anybody. She doesn't want to talk to Huda. She doesn't want to talk to Chris. She doesn't want to talk to Ace. She doesn't want to talk to nobody. Um, we do see Kristen and Huda chat in the speakeasy, and now she's put on the soft, demure voice, and she's like, I really like where we are. I like how things are going. And Chris says, well, I'm really liking where we are too. And I think I'm going to take a step back from Shelly. And she's like, really? No, you're lying. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to take a step back and just focus on you. I don't like, putting my all into something and getting nothing back. So kind of like what he said in Casa when he was like, I want some lips, because he felt like he put in work and Shelly wasn't giving him anything back. So at this point, I think that's where he is. I don't know. So they chat about her vulnerability and her inability to let down her walls and his cheating, and she does say again she likes the pace that they are going, and she's like, what's your type? And he's like, he doesn't have a type, but he always attracts unstable women. They kept this in the edit for a reason, guys. She says, oh, if she's that. And he says, I don't know yet. And then they make out. And I'm like, she is. She is that. She is that. So we see that she is basically, she did the same thing with Jeremiah. I think we'll find that her and Chris, she's going to make it so that he's not talking to anybody else, not even the boys in the villa. He's got to be just solely focused on her. You saw her talking about, like, do you like to text? Again, we heard her say that she has a hard time trusting, so she doesn't allow people not to, like, let her go through phones, that kind of stuff. Huda has a lot of insecurities, and I need her to work on them. The problem is she cannot work on them in this villa. She can't. She cannot. So I don't know where we go from here with Huda, but I need you guys to stop trying to save her and keep her in this villa. That's all. And KB said no truer words than Huda is an unstable woman. And Chris, obviously, that's what he attracts, because he saw she was able to hook him right into it. So KB says, I was like, Chris, baby, you should already know from your own words that this is the one that's about to prove you're right. Yep. So we see a preview of them all going to a mailbox, putting in a little card, pulling up the flag, or going in and taking out whatever's in the mailbox. So tomorrow is Stand on Business, Speak Up. Looks like a new challenge. I've never seen it before. I'm not sure if it's ever been held in the UK or Australia, but excited to see what it's about and what we're going to get. Is it anonymous? Will people have to write their names down? I'm excited to see what that's about. Sharnice says, I hope Huda is happy and can just fade into the background with Chris and off my screen. I mean, this is also fair. They were pretty far up on the app you guys showed me yesterday. I need people to stop trying to vote for them. I do feel like also Andrea not being in the couple also would help get Huda a little bit down more. I don't think a lot of people are enjoying Huda being here, but I could be wrong. All right, guys. So I said to you tomorrow I would be probably not here, because tomorrow I'm going to go to my first Love Island USA watch party at a restaurant near my house. And I'm excited for that. I'm going to take lots of pictures, and I'll hopefully be back either Wednesday or Thursday to chit chat about Tuesday's episode. If there is a vote, be prepared. Get all your devices together to vote. So if there's a recoupling tomorrow, and then we are voting. I'm interested to see that, but hopefully we will see what this new challenge will do to the villa. If you have not, please, as always, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, Threads at Entertainment in Color, and on Twitter at Entertainment in Cole Media. I will say, if you are not subscribed to this channel and you just happen to find me, please subscribe to my channel. We're working our way to I think I'm almost at 500 followers. KB says Blue Sky. I am on Blue Sky. It's also Entertainment in Color. I try to remember to go over there. I don't always love the environment over there, but I also have a feed over there that I created. Love Island USA feed is under my profile that I created on Blue Sky. What else? So if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. Make sure to get your friends to subscribe, especially if they like hearing or talking about Love Island or any other shows. I will be covering Beyond the Villa that starts July 13th. I'll be covering Perfect Match that starts August 1st. I will be covering Perfect Match Season 3. I will be covering Love Island Games. I will be covering my first season. I'm covering the Amazing Race because there's going to be a Big Brother edition. I won't be covering Big Brother again this season. Sorry, can't do it. It's too much. But I will continue to bring recaps and reviews while I can. This episode wasn't bad. The date was a lot. Like I said, there's just a lot of people in this villa, and a lot of them need to go because I don't care. Okay. And then there's just this one toxic person that, in my opinion, needs to go, but y'all can't seem to quit her. So I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So yes, make sure you follow me. Encourage your friends to come over to my channel to subscribe. Hit the notification button so you know when I do decide to go live. And follow me on all socials. While you can, make sure you like this video. And if you watched my other videos, go back and like those too. Thank you guys for always being here. My steady people in the chat: Shanice, KB, Mary, Danita, Kennedy. Who did I miss? King Cooper. And shout out to my other listeners who couldn't make it tonight. I'll see you guys next time. And thanks again. And it will be all right, guys. We are in the end game, but we're not that far. We are not that far. Our people can still get us there. They don't trust me. Trust the process. We will get there. And on that note, I will see you guys next time. Love you. Bye.